us what your life was like growing up in Chile?
Well, I lived in Chile till 1974, and like normal young people there, I was involved in the university movement. Then, when I started working, I became a delegate of the workers. But mainly, all my life, since I was very young, I was very much involved with the Socialist Party, and that's why it's the color of my years. And I will say, in 1969, we became married with Maria. We have a very normal and good life. We enjoy the life in Chile very much. Yeah. Maria's family and my family were very close, so we have very good time. We have 2 children born in Chile, and if I had to resume in one word, I would say we were happy, very happy. We enjoy life in Chile till the 11th of September 1973. Then everything changed for us.
And so what happened?
Well, like I said, I was involved in the Socialist Party. I was a union delegate in the factory where I was working. On that day, from the very early hours, I say maybe from 7 in the morning, in the factory we heard that the army was attacking the palace of the presidency, where Salvador Allende was. So we knew from the very beginning of that day that we were going to face very big troubles. We have a meeting and we decide to stay in the factory no matter what. By 5 o'clock p.m., the Air Force arrived in the factory, and they took us in a big lorry to a detention center where they start hitting us, beating us. And about midnight on that night, we were moved from that detention center to a regiment. And that regiment was very close where I live. It was about maybe half an hour walking. So when they took me there, I knew I passed my house, the house where Maria and my children were, where my father and my mother were. So was, in that sense, was very, very bad for me. And we spent the night there. The next day, they moved us again in another lorry to a detention center where Victor Jara, the singer, was and killed. We spent 3 days there. And then again, they moved us, this time to the National Stadium, the football stadium of Santiago. And in that stadium, where I have very good memories, I spent almost 4 months. Very bad time for me.
And can you tell us how you ended up in Australia?
After I was released from the stadium, I remember we have a meeting with other members of my party. They were in the same factory where I was. And I said to them that the country was not going to be the same anymore with the army. And I said to them, we had to go to every embassy to ask for asylum in order to leave the country, because in my mind, it was from the very beginning, from what they did to us in detention centers, I said to myself, the country is not going to be the same anymore for my family, for me. So we had to decide to leave the country. I went to the Canadian embassy, to the Italian, to the French, waiting for someone to help us. In that moment, someone in the group knew about the Catholic Church was helping people, but also the other churches was involved, not only the Catholic Church. That was the beginning of what later was called Vicaria, and was solidarity group, helping people in concentration camp, helping the family, telling them where the family was detained, and also they had access to the embassies. And one of the priests there told me that one of the best embassies in that moment to leave the country was Australia. So I said to him, put my paper, my family paper, all my details to the Australian embassy. And this is 1974, maybe June or July. And the Australian embassy was very quick in answer and say, yes, we accept you as a refugee in Chile, in Australia.
What was it like when you left Chile and came to Australia?
So when I received the news that the Australian embassy accepted me as a refugee, I was very excited. But I couldn't tell my family. Not even Maria knew. When I took Maria and the children for photograph, they didn't know where we're going and why the photograph. When the day came for me to leave Chile, is another sad memory, because the Australian ambassador said to me, we don't know if Maria and the kids are going to be in the plane, but if they are not, don't worry, go, and we can join the family later on. There was no family from Maria or my family at the airport, no one. When I went into the plane, well, for the first time I flew in an airplane. I was looking everywhere until I saw Maria and my children. Then I say, life is coming back to me. And we arrived in Australia on the 7th of December, 1974, very close to Christmas and New Year. That was another very sad experience for us. It took some time for us to get accustomed. And because my trade, I have a mechanic degree, I went for the special classes for almost 1 year until I received the approval to get working as a mechanic. And my English was getting better and better. The life in the hostel was very interesting in a sense, because I had to went for English classes. But also in the hostel there was many people from South America that suffered the same we suffered in Chile. And also I was involved with the Solidarity Committee of Chile. And we have meetings in Sydney. We organize a Remembrance Day on the first 11th of September, 1975, in the middle of Sydney, with the flags of the Chilean flag, the Communist Party flag, and the Socialist Party flag. And we received plenty support from the Australians.
What obstacles have you had to overcome since you arrived in Australia?
Well, the main obstacle was the language, but also there was no way for us to get in touch with the family in Chile. Not only me, Maria. We received no letters from there. Communication whatsoever was cut. We have not the telephone we use now. We have no internet, nothing. So for us to receive news from Chile was a matter of someone coming from Chile or from Argentina or Uruguay to tell us what was going on over there. There was no way to communicate with my family. And also I made a big mistake because I started writing letters about the life we have in Australia and criticizing the Pinochet regime in my letters. Till one day, someone told me that what I did was wrong because my family will suffer for what I put in the letter. And I remember when a group called Quilapayún came to Australia. With them came Joan Jara, Victor Jara's wife, and they tell us that was very dangerous to get in touch with the family if we express in those letters opinions against the regime, because the letters were open and checked in Chile. So communication was not free anymore for us. I would say those were the main problems we faced during the first and second year in Australia.
And what do you think has been most helpful for you to develop a sense of belonging here in Australia?
Many things. Like I said before, I was very much involved from the very beginning with the party, the Chilean Socialist Party here. But there was many people in different part of the country getting support to the Chilean. We organized money for them. We organized magazines. And in that sense, my life was full. But the other life, the Australian life, was a different life. Well, I was going to work. Maria and me, we started working. The children went to the school. We tried to understand the way that Australians live. Even the food was different for us. But we stick to very old costume that we brought from Chile. And in that sense, we keep that liaison till now with Chile. Even when Chile now, they say it's free, which I don't believe is 100% free. The advantage now we have is that from time to time we can go back to Chile. If we have the money, we can fly over there and spend time with the family.
And this year, Australia will have accepted 1 million, will have received 1 million refugees since the war, since 1947. Do you have any thoughts about this?
I think every country needs to take people from overseas because they are suffering, because they are suffering hunger. Young children having nothing to eat or not a place where to live. So I think the whole world should help people that is being forced to move from their own ground. And there is a need of that every day, more and more. I don't understand people who is against supporting people coming from overseas. Because, like it or not, the whole world is one unit. And we are part of that unit.
When you look back on your life and thinking about it yourself, what are you proud of that you have managed to achieve yourself?
I will say that for Maria and me, it's very important to keep our minds very concentrated in helping people. If they think what we think, if they believe what we believe or not. This house is open for anyone who can have a cup of wine with us, a piece of empanada. In that sense, we are happy to achieve that. In this house, we remember the good times and the bad times of Chile, and it's open. I receive here many people who don't believe what I believe from my country. And when they came here, they said to me they couldn't believe that there was a communist, accepted that. But that is true. That's the way we are. And Maria especially is helping me a lot in that sense.
Can you tell us a bit about your children and how coming to Australia has given them a different future?
With them, we have a very tricky situation because they know what happened to me. They know what happened in Chile during the Pinochet regime. But sometimes they criticize me because they think that keeping my mind remembering what happened in Chile is bad. But I'm trying to make them to understand, but not only them, this is for everyone, Rebecca. People try to forget what happened because past. But if we forget the past, it will come again in the future. That's what I believe very strongly. And where I was in that concentration camp in the stadium of Santiago, there is a place written there. It says, people who forget the past have no future. And I strongly believe that. And for my children to accept that is very hard. But they know, I know, they understand and they accept that.